I'm happy to introduce again my colleague Callum, who's in the studio with us, and also our guest for today. Anna, if you'd like to introduce yourself a little bit for our audience.
Hi, yes, my name is Anna Louise, and I am the founder and trustee of the charity Believe Organ Donor Support. And thank you for having us on today.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, Anna, and I'm really pleased that you've been able to join us during Organ Donation Week. I know we've been working with yourselves as a charity for a little while now. Rissa recently joined us at the library a little while ago for our library drop-in. I'm wondering, could you start by telling us a little bit about Believe Organ Donor Support, some of your kind of what your mission is, your values, and your goals?
Yeah, well, I set the charity up coming up to 9 years ago. Sadly, I lost my husband and my son in a tragic road incident whilst we were crossing a road. And this was just 5 days after our opt-out system had been incorporated in Wales. And if you recall, Wales were the first home nation to decide that we would have this soft opt-out organ donation, which means actually that if you don't want to donate your organs, you have to opt out of it, but still your next of kin still needs to give their consent. So I actually donated my son's organs, who went on to save at least 4 lives. But what became very clear is people didn't understand about organ donation. So I set the charity up firstly to educate people about organ donation, to provide support to those that are affected about organ donation, and overriding all of this, just to try and remove this taboo about organ donation. It seems to be one of those subjects that no one wants to talk about, and no one can put their finger on it. And I can be completely honest, because I only had the conversation about organ donation 3 weeks before the boys passed away, and I didn't like to talk about it. And when anyone asked me that, I said, I don't know why. It just seemed a bit icky. So we as a charity try and encourage people just to talk about it. We're not telling you you have to donate or not to donate. It's not up to us to decide. You're all human beings and you've got your own choice. But do consider having that conversation, especially this week in Organ Donation Week, with your children. And we can talk about later on about how some nice ways to give you, the strength and the confidence and the belief that you can have this conversation and what a difference it can make.
Yeah, no, it's great that you're able to join us and share that information during this week. So, what, Anna, what's your role? What does your sort of day-to-day look like within the charity? I see on social media you're often out and about at different community events, sort of promoting the charity.
Yes, that's it exactly. It's the awareness about the charity. And I still remain a volunteer for the charity, so we're incredibly small and we really rely on other volunteers to help me. I am only one person and I can't be everywhere. So therefore, if anyone's interested in joining us, then we'd love to have you on board, because there's a real mission out there and it really does affect more people than you know. And everywhere that I go, when I chat to people, they suddenly say, oh gosh, yes, I remember that, but I also remember you donated Fraser's organs. And then they'll relay to me a story that's affected them personally. And therefore, if you want to get involved, if you want to jump on board, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. I want to touch on your mascot, Anna, the Believe mascot. I wonder whether you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, for those probably might have seen a bear around the city and further on. So my little boy was called Fraser, but we called him Bear after the House of Fraser Bear and also our love of Bear Grylls. So after they passed away, Stewie and Fraser, the House of Fraser actually donated bears to all of his classmates to give them a bit of a comfort. And then someone I knew said, why don't we see if we can get this bear travelling the world to talk about Fraser's epic donation? So this bear started to travel. All of a sudden, they'd sold out, and we had to get our own bears. We now have around 2,000 bears. You've got one now in the studio.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that.
And we've got this bear going around and talking about organ donation. And he's got some pretty famous owners, obviously apart from you guys here today. But Bear Grylls has got one, Prince William has got one, Ollie Murs has got them, and numerous footballers have got them, and rugby stars. So our bear is there. Then just a few years ago, I managed to get hold of an animator called Mike Young, who was actually from outside Cardiff, just in Barry here. And he rang me from LA and said he wanted to animate the bear. So told me to go away and write a script, which I did, and just thought, this is bonkers. And we launched that on March the 1st, 6 years ago. And that animation that you can see on our website actually has reached 8.2 million people around the world in both English and in Welsh. So again, if you want to have that conversation, it's a great way of starting that, watching this beautiful animation that he's so kindly donated to the charity. And we've since translated it into 7 more languages.
Wow.
No, 8, I forgot one. 8 more languages that we're seeking to launch over the next few years.
What languages are those?
Oh, here we are. You put me on the spot.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. It's Italian, traditional Spanish, Castilian Spanish. See, every day's a school day. I didn't know there were 2 types of Spanish. French, Polish, and the for us it was Urdu, Arabic, and Bengali. We really want to reach to the wider communities and give everybody a voice.
Yeah.
And try to encourage those conversations that will hopefully increase the consent rates around Wales.
Yeah. No, that's amazing, and it's great to hear that you've, I guess, seen an opportunity there to share that video in other languages. We at C3SE are big promoters of sort of sharing lots of our materials in other community languages, so that's amazing to see. I've seen the video, the animation myself too, a little while ago, and it's it looks amazing. Really useful in schools, I would imagine.
Yes, it's part of the school's hub now.
Right.
And there's a real system. But with our new national curriculum here in Wales, we're working together with local schools about how best to incorporate it cross-curriculum. Not just be one lesson that your children will go to school one day. Let's look about how we can keep this conversation flowing. Because I think the more it's incorporated into our education system, we're not only educating about organ donation, but we're actually making our children better citizens. We're making them better journalists, better doctors, because there is nothing in our education system at the moment, even at degree medical level, to do with organ donation. So we really need to shake that up and start talking and educating, because I tell you what, the kids aren't scared of talking about it.
Yeah.
It's us adults that see it as I said, as I did, as a bit icky. So it's really important. Children are so amazing, come out with so many good thoughts and feelings. And it's about making them the citizens of tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, just listening to you kind of recount how Believe has grown and how this mission has really been shaped by what you've seen and what you've experienced. I mean, I can imagine that might have been quite overwhelming. Suddenly there's millions of people who've seen this video. There's these donations coming in. How were you able to sort of, I guess, adapt to that and maybe prioritize what you wanted Believe to become?
Within a week, there was something like £40,000 that was actually donated to a Just Giving page that myself and Stu were raising money for a bereavement charity. And it was then that I had to make the decision about, however crass this sounds, but where were people going to donate money to from the funeral? And so within a week, I said, right, we need to do something about organ donation. So the Believe charity just became this massive snowball that kept on going. The local community support from around us and from beyond has been so amazing. And when you say about learning to adapt, I just had to run with it. still whilst grieving and trying to plan everything and still being mum to my 3.5-year-old, it at least gave something positive out of such a tragic incident. And ironically, I just launched my book last Sunday, which was on Fraser's 16th birthday, called Life, A Story of Believing, which is actually about my journey, but about people understanding that your journey doesn't end. Your grief and your trauma can still be discussed along with things as taboo as organ donation. So whilst writing that, it actually made me go back to think, did that really happen? You know, was that really a thing that I got called in LA? Was it really that, you know, the animated bear was put on the side of Cardiff City Stadium? Really, did that happen? Or was that just part of like this dream thing? But writing the book, it really helped me address how important it was originally for me to have that conversation, but how we as human beings can adapt and deal with things that are thrown at us.
Yeah. You mentioned the book there, Anna. Where can people find your book?
Oh, you can find the book on Amazon.
Oh.
It's really easy.
Yeah.
And if you've got Kindle, you can get it for free.
Oh, great.
So, yes.
That is great. We'll be sure we'll drop a link.
In an emergency at the coast, call 999 and ask for the Coast Guard.
Radio Cardiff 98.7 FM, the sound of the capital.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Cardiff Community Radio Show on Radio Cardiff. It's just gone 11:35, and today we are in the studio with Callum from C3SC and Anna from Believe Organ Donor Support. We've just been chatting a little bit about how Believe got started, some of its missions, its goals, sort of overarching ideals. But now we're really going to want to dig in a little bit into what Believe actually provides and how it supports people in the community to know a bit more and to feel more comfortable in discussions around organ donorship. So, Anna, I'm not sure if you can walk us through maybe some of those kind of concrete things that Believe does or resources it provides that help people have those conversations.
Yes, well, firstly, as I was just explaining, we have our award-winning animation that people can go to just to encourage those conversations. We also work very strongly with the NHSBT, which is obviously blood and transplant, and through them we connect with the Students for Organ Donation, which is a society here in Cardiff University, and we provide the expenses for the students to actually go in and educate the children at primary and high school level. And I really like that amalgamation because it's like a multi-tiered education system then. We're teaching the students to teach the children, and it just makes it so fresh and so wonderful. We also we have our own documentary as well with some case studies there that schools can utilise. And we feel very passionate about the education. But also combined with that, what was clear to me was the lack of support that was offered for those that have actually donated, and also for those that are awaiting organ transplants as well. And as I said, this taboo surrounds overall, so you find it incredibly difficult to really say what support you need or what support is required. So we have provided mental health support to medical professionals involved in the process. It's a very traumatic, as you can imagine, and a difficult subject. We've provided medical support, mental health support for those that have been approached about organ donation. We are not saying we only provide support to those that say yes, and that's really, really important from my point of view as well. But we also we've provided recording stethoscopes to the Heath to record loved ones' heartbeats. I personally obtained my son's heartbeat, and it's such a great support for me to know that I've got his heart. And I've really felt quite strongly about making that, and we're looking to actually get these stethoscopes nationwide, really. Wow. To give people that power if they would like their loved ones. We also now we've provided support to families, so those when you receive a organ or when you're awaiting an organ, you have to go to specific hospitals. It's not like just going to your local hospital. So in Wales, the transplants that occur are either kidney or pancreas. So if you need a liver, a heart, you have to go to England, and that's the same for those that are in Northern Ireland, and the same thing in Scotland. So those travelling expenses can come very cumbersome to families. So we actually paid for a young boy who was waiting for a heart for his whole family to go to London for his pre-op, and then we organised him to have a nice trip on the London Eye after. So it was something that was nice for them to do. But so we try and think outside the box about what support we can offer. What we do find, though, is we don't actually get many applications for support. So I'd encourage anybody, if they're struggling, if they want to know what we can do, please get in touch. We would love to be able to support many, many more people, and letting people know that we're here.
Brilliant. Thank you, Anna. I want to ask a question specifically around what it means to be an organ donor. So perhaps for some of our listeners this morning, kind of that whole concept is perhaps a new idea to them. Can you walk us through kind of that process? So what it means to be an organ donor, and then how can people sort of support you? You touched on it earlier about the sort of opt-out type situation. But yeah, can you give us a bit more information on that?
Yes, I think the first thing that we really need to accept is you're more likely in life to need an organ than ever be in the position to give an organ.
Oh, yeah.
That shows how the shortage of organs that are out there. Now, sadly, my late husband, Stewie, died at the scene, so his organs couldn't be donated. But Fraser's could, and understanding now that his organs himself went on to save at least 4 lives, and he survived all of that to do that, truly shows what a superhero he was. And for me personally, I've got the direct knowledge. A couple of years ago, I actually met the little boy that had Fraser's heart, and I still keep in touch with Mum. And him, actually. He's now discovered he can actually voice a note on WhatsApp. So I think I had about 50 over the weekend, just going, Anna. And but to see the realism. But it's also, for me, meeting friends or meeting within the transplant world, those that are awaiting organs, and seeing the pain and the suffering, and not just for those that are sick, for the wider families as well. So I want the families to know that they're not alone. We're not lone islands in any of this, and that support can be there. And it's, for me, knowing that there is something positive to come out of such a tragic circumstance makes me believe, and makes Elizabeth and I be able to carry on and deal with life. And I think that's important. But the main thing is, life is a gift. And the biggest gift you could give is life. So therefore, if you're discussing that tonight, just remember that. Yeah.
So, and what is the current setup in Wales in terms of deciding to donate your organs? How can people check that they are, signed up as an organ donor?
Yes, you can go straight on and you can sign up on the organ donation register. That is really helpful for the health professionals. But the most important thing is, as I said earlier, the next of kin still needs to give consent.
Right.
So you need to have that conversation so that your next of kin knows what you want, whatever your decision is. If you were in my situation of 9 years ago, would you want your loved one not to know what you would want them to do? The answer would surely be no. So therefore, you need to discuss, have that conversation, and also appreciate the gift of life and what you can do with it.
Yeah. We touched on earlier, so this week, today, starts the beginning of Organ Donation Week. So could you tell us a little bit more about that campaign and kind of perhaps what's happening in Wales or nationally, and then a little bit of information about what you have planned this week to mark and celebrate the week, recognise the week.
Yes, so this week is obviously National Organ Donation Week. So what you'll do is you'll watch some special things happening this week. For example, Cardiff Castle is going to be lit up pink on Friday, along with major landmarks around the country. So that's going to be pretty spectacular. I know that the organ donation nurses are walking up various mountains. So Pen y Fan, if anyone would like to pop along there on Friday, they're doing that. But the main part of Organ Donation Week is just to get rid of this taboo again and get people talking. We ourselves, we're having a Zumbathon in Lanishon High School on Friday. There's still some spaces there. You don't need to stay for the whole time, but come along, have a bit of a boogie with our giant mascot bear. There might be a couple of famous people there, I don't know. I can't promise. Apparently there's an author coming. No, I'm joking. Yes, it's so we've got that Friday. Tomorrow we're in Cardiff City Centre. We're in St David's again. So come along, support the bear, have a picture, come along and just chat to us and join our team of believers.
Brilliant. So I know Believe Organ Donor Support, Anna, you mentioned earlier about recruiting volunteers. You know, as a small charity, you rely on the support of volunteers. So could you tell us a little bit about some of the specific opportunities that are involved with that, and how people can get involved?
Yes, well, we have a range of volunteering activities. For those of you that have always wanted to be in a giant mascot, and I understand there's quite a lot.
Yeah, probably more than you'd expect.
Then we're always looking for our bear to make an impact across that as well. We're always looking for fundraisers and just awareness things. So obviously in 2 weeks we've got the Cardiff Half Marathon.
Yeah.
We've got some believers running, but I often find myself with the giant mascot bear outside the church. My mother was brought up in the vicarage, St Martin's in Albany Road. So we're always looking for volunteers to come along there, support, do all of that. But actually supporting by other things that are slightly outside, I always find, which is quite interesting. Would you like a bear? Could you take a bear on your travels? Could you use the bear to talk about it? Could you take some photos of the bear? Who could you connect us to? It's all really exciting volunteering things. And we are actually part of the time credit scheme. For those that actually do volunteer, they get the wonderful time credit scheme where they can use it for cricket and football, etc. So yes, just contact us to find out more. And get your thinking caps on. How could you, bare necessities? How could you do it?
And it sounds like it's very flexible in that way too. It's sort of like, could you be having a conversation? Could you spread the word about Believe and maybe help make those contacts and make the network even wider and more effective? Through some of the things we're probably doing every day. I know plenty of people, myself included. I'm posting on Instagram plenty. I could post a picture with the bear, and that helps forward that mission just a little bit further.
Yeah, and we've had some really, really lovely events. Some teddy bears picnics, which again it kind of allows the children to enjoy the cuddlier approach, but this to get wider out into the local community as well.
Definitely.
See, Radio Cardiff 98.7. Don't move that dial. Radio Cardiff says so.
Welcome back to the Cardiff Community Radio Show on Radio Cardiff. We're in the studio with Anna from Believe Organ Donor Support and Callum from C3SC. Anna, thank you so much for sharing so much about your personal sort of journey and story with Believe and the road that's taken you to where we are today, and also some of that more concrete support that you guys can provide and sort of that core part of your mission, which is just to get people to have those conversations and to talk about it and to remove some of the taboo around organ donorship. I know there's a couple of projects specifically that Callum you found mentioned on the website that you'd like to talk about as well.
Yeah, and when I met with your colleague before, that she joined me out at Cardiff Central Library, it was good to hear about all the kind of support you offer. But she spoke about the Believe Memorial Garden project. So I'm hoping you can tell us a little bit more about that, kind of what stage you're in of development, and perhaps how people can get involved and support that.
Yes, now this garden is, for me, I'm so excited about this garden. So it's going to be the first organ donation garden that is outside of a hospital, which to me was really important, considering that the trauma that people are involved in are at a hospital. And we were Cardiff City Council's Bereavement Charity of the Year 3 years ago. And from that, they said that they wished to collaborate with us in the new crematorium in Thornhill. And so we started to work on that and some plans. The plans have just been finalised now. It's a very large area, so we want this garden to actually educate and support. So in the middle of the garden, there is a heart that will be seen. Well, my daughter explains it in the promo video. She says it can be seen from space, but it can be seen from Google Earth, or it will be seen. And then we got mounds then to reflect the kidneys and the liver. And around there's going to be some tools. There'll be a replica of Castle Koch, which is where the animation is set, so people can obviously get some dealings there. And for me, there's going to be hand and footprints around the garden, so that people can go and see if they can find their match for organs or bloods. Transplants and transfusions to happen, you have to have a match, and therefore we want to educate people on that. And then the council turned to me, the bereavement services turned to me, they said, "Oh, Anna, wouldn't it be lovely if we could get inspirational people attached to Wales to lend us their literal hand or foot?" So we've been spending the last few months contacting some of our favourite Welsh inspirational people. After some serious work, and I mean serious work, I managed to get Bear Grylls' handprint himself.
Wow.
We have Mark Lewis-Jones's, who is our ambassador, and that was super exciting because I got that on May the 4th, obviously because he was in Star Wars. We thought that was quite fitting. Sophie Ingalls has agreed to lend us her hand as well, and we're working together with Michael Sheen's agent, Catherine Jenkins, and we're really hoping that a lot more people will literally lend their hand. So if anyone's that is listening who can lend us their hand, it's a very, very quick process. But we think how nice it will be for children to go there and have a bit of fun about matching. And around there as well, we're going to have quotes from donor families that will hopefully dispel some of those myths and misconceptions that might be stopping people donating. And then we're going to have a tree, and this tree is going to honour every single donor family we have in Wales. We don't honour our donors enough, and so each and every donor will have a little heart at the end of a tree. So we're really hoping, as we said, that it'll educate, it will support, and it will honour people around organ donation, and it'll be a nice place for everybody to go and visit. We're working with the local schools who are designing benches, and we're just trying to make it a real community project.
So when do you think that'll open? A little while yet?
Yes, we were originally aiming for this week.
Oh, okay.
But now we are thinking, how fab would it be to actually open this on St David's Day?
Oh, brilliant.
On March the 1st. And really, again, show the rest of the UK we were the first to get the opt-out, we're the first to do something on this magnitude, and, you know, get all the local Welsh community support.
Brilliant. Well, I look forward to visiting, Anna. You'll have to let us know once that's open, and a few of us from C3SE will be sure to come over and visit. Thank you for joining us. It's been great to have you in, especially during Organ Donation Week. Is there anything you want to leave our listeners with before you head off?
I think the only thing that I would say, and again, it's kind of connected to the garden, but also to the animation, it's see how my son, we called him, his name was Fraser Aaron Bates. So we'd leave you with a bit of a fab today. Could you fundraise? Could you do an action? Have that conversation? And can you believe? So today, let's all do that, fab.
Brilliant. Well, thank you, Anna.
Thank you so much. It has been so much good information, so much powerful information. So thank you for sharing your story with us and with our listeners. We're going to go into a little bit of news and weather, but then after that, I'll play your final song request for the day, which is Believer by Imagine Dragons. So keep an eye out on our social media. We'll be posting up all the links and information that Anna's been talking about on the show today. And we do hope that you will take her advice to do something fab with your day and with your week. This is the Cardiff Community Radio Show on Radio Cardiff.